I found the best episode from every Star Wars TV show based on the ratings and how entertaining they are, and I'm gonna go through them all in this video. We'll save the best episode for the very end. This is gonna be fun. Well, it'll get fun eventually, because the best episode from the Clone Wars is Victory and Death, one of the saddest stories in all of Star Wars. It picks up right where the last episode left off, with Ahsoka and Rex trapped in the medical bay as the clones are about to break in and carry out Order 66. Hearing Rex talk about his brothers as if they're dead is just heartbreaking. And the worst part is, it's true. As the ship is about to crash, Rex tries to reason with his brother, Jesse, but this is not the Jesse we all know from the past. That's what makes seeing Rex cry so emotional. After the ship crashes, Ahsoka and Rex bury the dead to honor the memory of these men. And Vader coming along at the end was the icing on the cake. It was the perfect way to end an amazing show. Now that I've got y'all feeling sad, I might as well talk about the best episode from Star Wars Rebels, Jedi Knight. In the episode before, Hera Syndulla was captured when the Rebels tried to attack a TIE fighter factory. So now, the Ghost crew has to go back and try to rescue her. The mission goes well at first, but the Empire catches on fast. Kanan and Hera get split up from the rest of the group and end up being trapped in a fuel depot with AT-ATs closing in around them. I love that Governor Price orders the pilots to fire on their own fuel depot just to kill a few rebels. It shows the lengths that the Empire will go to squash the rebellion. Just as Ezra pulls up and gets Hera on his ship, the fuel cell explodes and Kanan is left holding back the explosion from killing him and his friends. Hera tries to jump out to save him, but Kanan pushes her away, and then his eyes change in this scene. Maul had blinded him 2 seasons ago, and somehow in this moment, as he becomes one with the Force, he's able to look at his friends and the love of his life for the very last time. This is probably one of the most well-done death scenes in Star Wars, and that makes this episode so much better. Next is The Mandalorian. Most of you probably think the best episode from this show is the Season 2 finale, when Luke Skywalker comes in and saves the day. To that, I say, search your feelings. Don't let nostalgia cloud your vision, because the best episode is actually Season 2, Chapter 15, The Believer. For one thing, we get to see Bill Burr help out Mando in this episode. Real ones know how awesome he is, but the action in this episode is just perfect. First, Mando has to steal a Juggernaut to get into the base. Once they get inside the base, they have to find a terminal that has info on where Grogu is. But while they're there, this officer comes up and makes them all sit down for a drink. This conversation between Bill Burr and the officer is amazing. It reminds me a lot of Andor, and it's one of the few times we get a deep conversation in The Mandalorian. But after the officer says one too many stupid things, Bill just decides to shoot him in the chest. So now Mando has to kill everyone in the mess hall. Boba Fett comes to the rescue and everyone escapes. And then at the very end, Bill decided to aura farm and blow up the entire base with one sniper shot. This might be the craziest thing a side character's ever done. Since you guys got mad at me for not including it in the last video, I've got to talk about the 2003 Clone Wars real quick. The best episode in this show is Chapter 20. A group of Jedi are surrounded by a horde of battle droids. Grievous pulls up and tells the Jedi he's going to face them alone. Except Grievous has this childish voice that's not scary in the slightest.
You are surrounded. Your army is decimated.
You're telling me this is the unstoppable droid general they've been talking about? But the Jedi are scared to death. This dude Shaggy is sweating his balls off over here. Yes, his name is actually Shaggy. They aren't too subtle with the crossovers these days. The Jedi can hear Grievous walking towards them, and he's making this comically slow squeaking sound that lasts forever. After a few minutes of this, Shaggy finally breaks and just rushes out into the open. And this man Grievous pancakes him, like one of those hydraulic presses from YouTube Shorts. Now I see why he's so scary. Grievous starts fighting 5 Jedi at once. These are council members like Shaak Ti and Ki-Adi-Mundi, by the way, and he's just obliterating them. And for his next trick, he goes for a final smash by tossing one of his sabers to his other hand and then cuts this Jedi in half for the KO. Finally, for just a few minutes, we got to see more accurate Grievous. The Acolyte might be one of the worst Star Wars shows, but Episode 5 also has an amazing duel. Somehow, good lightsaber choreography returned, because this fight was definitely up to par with the rest of Star Wars. Kimir pulls out some insane moves in this duel, killing the Jedi in ways we've never seen before. He pulls this one dude onto his lightsaber to impale 2 Jedi at once, literally a Jedi kebab. Not to mention that he can just headbutt lightsabers at will with his Cortosis helmet, or turn his lightsaber off and back on to stab the Jedi to death. Yeah, who cares if it's an illegal move. Since when did the Sith care about honor anyway? I mean, in Tales of the Jedi Episode 4, Dooku lured Yaddle into a trap and then killed her in what is possibly the most one-sided duel of all time. Literally a hydrogen bomb versus coughing baby type of moment. The story building for Dooku's character is what I like the most about this episode. First, there's a reunion between Dooku and Qui-Gon, and Dooku gets to talk with his former Padawan. Things seem good. But fast forward to after Qui-Gon's death, and he's stealing information from the Jedi Order and talking to Sidious, since the Jedi Council won't listen to him. So when Yaddle catches on, she follows him to Sidious's hideout, and to test Dooku, Sidious makes him kill her. If you didn't like Dooku from the movies, this episode makes it way easier to understand where he's coming from. Tales of the Empire does the same thing, at least at first, when it introduces the Barriss arc in Episode 4. Barriss is right where we left her, in jail, because of what she did to Ahsoka. And the Inquisitors come along because she's exactly the kind of idiot they need to fill the ranks of the goon squad. No, not that type of goon. She fights to the death with the new recruits, and her reward for winning is a meeting with her new boss, Darth Vader. I feel like he should have at least force-choked her for intimidation or something, but they had to make sure Vader was on screen for as little time as possible, even though he was in the freaking trailer. But overall, this episode helps make Barriss's fall to the dark side make sense, and the lightsaber fights are cool. I know I said earlier that you shouldn't let nostalgia blind you, but with the Ahsoka show, it's kinda hard not to, specifically with Episode 5, Shadow Warrior. This is the episode where Ahsoka goes into the world between worlds to reunite with her master. We get to see Hayden Christensen on screen again. And Captain Rex in live action? Just take my money, Disney Plus. I don't even care that the rest of the show is mid. At least Anakin coming back did serve a purpose though. This episode is really important for Ahsoka's development as a character, and it shows how she's able to move past all of the trauma from the Clone Wars and losing Anakin to the dark side. At first, she's angry with the past, but through the visions she experiences, she's able to see the Jedi Order and the Clone Wars for what it really was, and let go of her feelings. And Ahsoka gets to fight Anakin, twice. There's nothing quite like those lightsaber skills. The Book of Boba Fett also uses nostalgia for its episode, but not quite in the same way. Episode 7, In the Name of Honor, is the finale of the series, so most of the episode is taken up with the final battle between Boba Fett, Mando, and all of the crime lords in the city, and the action gets really random. First, there's a shootout with the Pikes, and then Grogu comes back, and then Cad Bane shows up. He has an epic showdown with Boba Fett, and Boba comes out on top. Then there's a massive kaiju battle with Boba riding a Rancor versus a massive droid, and Boba wins, but then the Rancor gets on the loose while everyone's fighting in the town, and it's just chaos everywhere. And why is Mando just casually carrying Grogu in one hand and shooting the Pikes with the other? But the heroes win in the end, and Boba is the undisputed ruler of Mos Espa. The best episode of Star Wars Resistance is also the finale, which is No Escape Part 2. This episode marks the beginning of the war between the Resistance and the First Order, as everyone watches Hux make his Starkiller Base speech over a hologram. First Order forces have taken over the Resistance station, so the heroes have to blast their way through tons of stormtroopers and dogfight with TIE fighters. One of their group actually defects to the First Order because she doesn't agree with what the Resistance is doing. It's good to actually see someone defect to the bad guys for once, unlike someone I know. The episode ends with the station becoming operational and leaving in hyperspace just as a Star Destroyer arrives. Sometimes the best episode of a show is at the end. Other times, it's the first episode that is the best. Like Skeleton Crew Episode 1, this could be a real adventure. I think this episode does a really great job at setting up the story. It really surprised me with how un-Star Wars-like it is, and that just makes it better. It starts with the kids living in suburbia and going to school on this planet that's a lot like Earth. And one day, they stumble across a buried starship hidden in a canyon near one of their backyards. A few days later, they get back inside and then accidentally power it up. Before the kids know it, the autopilot is taking them up into the atmosphere and then jumps into hyperspace, with the episode ending on a cliffhanger. This episode especially captures the Star Wars Goonies vibe. Again, not that type of goon. The intro to Tales of the Underworld, A Way Forward, is also really good. This is the start of the Ventress arc, where we see her get resurrected by Mother Talzin, and now she works as a security guard of all things. Ventress randomly meets a Jedi Padawan who's on the run, and Ventress decides to save him from some stormtroopers. And just like that, they're on the run together. At the climax of the episode, an Inquisitor comes along. Now I know Ventress hasn't used a lightsaber in years, but there's just no way she's losing to an Inquisitor like this. Luckily, the Jedi kid saves her, and their journey continues as they try to find the hidden path for Jedi survivors. See, that's why Obi Wan is so great. He didn't need anyone's help to hide. He just raw dogged it in the desert by himself for 20 years. Except for the part where he comes comes out of hiding during his show. The best episode from Kenobi is Part 5. The episode where Obi-Wan fights Darth Vader is cool, but you guys know that I hate that they fought each other in this show at all. It shouldn't have happened because it ruins their final duel in Revenge of the Sith. Part 5 does the opposite. It builds up Anakin and Obi-Wan's story by showing flashbacks of their practice duels throughout the episode. These flashbacks are parallels to what's happening in the story, as Vader is wearing down Obi-Wan and the Rebel forces. The Rebels are backed into a corner, and it's a super tense moment as the Imperials move in to capture the base. Obi-Wan gives himself up to the stormtroopers, and it seems like all hope is lost. But for all of Anakin and Vader's power, Obi-Wan is still the master. We see Vader's power on full display as he pulls back this ship, and then he kills Reva, defeating the pinnacle of Disney Star Wars and saving us from more of that trash character. Although, stabbing someone with a lightsaber doesn't really mean anything anymore, so who knows? I guess Maul was so jealous of Obi-Wan getting a show that they decided to give him one too. If you haven't watched Shadow Lord yet, there will be some spoilers here. Just skip over this part of the video using the chapters below. In episode 9, Strange Allies is extremely tense, as the heroes are forced into an alliance with Maul so they can all escape the city from the Empire. Meanwhile, the entire time, the Inquisitors are on their trail, and they finally catch up to everyone at this underground lake. On the other side is their transport to escape, except this lake is full of acid tar that burns up anyone who touches it, and the only way to cross is by using this skiff that can hold just 2 people at once. So Maul, Devin, and Master Daki are forced to fight the Inquisitors so their friends can cross. It's a super cool battle, and you're left wondering who is going to survive through the entire thing, as Spybot gets destroyed and the Mandalorian commandos get burned up in the lake. Then at the very end, we get the best jump scare of all time, as this huge monster appears out of the fog. It's Darth Vader. That's why I think this episode is Maul Shadow Lord's best. Those of you who have seen the show probably like the episode 10 finale better, but I just prefer this episode compared to the non-stop action. Let me know what you think down below. Season 1, Episode 5 of Star Wars Visions is called The Ninth Jedi, and it's by far the best episode in my opinion. In this alternate reality, there's no lightsabers, but this one guy knows how to make them, so he calls 7 Jedi to his temple so he can give them some sabers. This girl shows up to give everyone the sabers, which show the color of their user. The story makes you think that the guy that called them there is a Sith, because he wears a hood and a mask, but then everyone activates their sabers, and all but one of the so-called Jedi are Sith, using red blades. And the man in the mask is a Jedi too. It's such a great plot twist. So the outnumbered Jedi fight off the dark side users in an epic duel. There's something special about watching lightsaber duels in an anime style. You should definitely go watch it for yourself. We're almost to the end, but first I gotta talk about the Bad Batch. There's a lot of solid episodes to choose from, but Season 2 Episode 12, The Outpost, stood out to me. Crosshair is still with the Empire, but he's finally figuring out just how evil the Empire really is. He meets a fellow clone, Commander Mayday, who's been all but cast aside in the Imperial ranks. People like their supervisor, Lieutenant Nolan, refer to the clones simply as outdated equipment. They're supposed to be protecting some cargo, but some of it gets stolen by raiders. So Mayday and Crosshair have to go out and get it back. When they find it, they discover it's actually TK Stormtrooper armor. They were sent out on a super dangerous mission just to recover a few pieces of armor for the very units who are replacing them. Now, Crosshair realizes just how expendable he really is to the Empire. Mayday is wounded on the trip back, and Nolan doesn't even care to help him. He goes on again with the whole equipment thing, but Crosshair's had enough, and he shoots Nolan in the chest. I've never been more happy to see someone die. We had every reason to hate this guy. Good work, Crosshair. And now, for the best episode in all of Star Wars television, we have Season 2, Episode 8 of Andor. You can't do better than the Gorman Massacre. It feels exactly like Rogue One, only it's a Star Wars TV show. The action is wild, the tension is off the charts, and the K2 droids destroying everyone at the end was absolutely insane. You know Cassian has plot armor, but you're genuinely worried for the rest of the rebels because you have no clue what's going to happen, and that's what makes this episode special.